So if half of you want to go now, that's fine. Or more. One of our featured speakers couldn't make it, so I was asked late yesterday afternoon to fill in his forms session. So I was quite literally prepping this during the keynote in the front row. So here we go. My name is Chad Frerichs. I'm a Google certified trainer. I'm a Google certified admin. You'll see in the bottom left logo for a company I started with 3 other ed tech guys called Simple Ed Tech. We do stuff. I'm also the creator of a product called FlexiSched. We have a booth downstairs. I am the creator and lead software architect is my title. It means I code the stuff, make it go. The session resources, I think, might still be linked to the other guy's stuff. Is that accurate? Did anyone try to go get them? Or maybe they took them down. Either way, mine are not there, but you can get a copy of this slide deck, which was being edited until about 10 minutes ago. At this URL, it should force you to make a copy. I hope that still works. Good. Something worked today. So you can take your own notes with the slides and whatever. I'm also using a new tool that's cool in slides. If you were at Stacy's session prior to lunch in this room, she mentioned it. You'll notice across the top there's a place you can ask questions digitally, and it'll pop up on my other screen. And I'll do my best to monitor that. I get excited and move around the room because this nerdy stuff really gets me going. But I will try to pop back and look at the questions. I have to go back to click anyway. I don't have a clicker. So if you want to ask a question, you're afraid to raise your hand and ask it live, go ahead and ask it in the back channel, and we'll go from there. Another. Of course, using the new tool. I forget to put my mouse on the right screen. Okay. I'm also a member of the GAP admins. We have a podcast tomorrow at some point. I don't remember, but I am talking on a live podcast tomorrow somewhere upstairs. We had to swap those rooms too. It's been a little chaotic the last couple days. A GAP admin show. 4 or 5 of us get together and talk about things GAP admin-y. Get a little nerdy, but not so much nerdy all the time. So if you like podcasts, you might check that out. There's where you can get it. And if you want to see us live, we're upstairs at some point tomorrow. I'll have to check the schedule just like you, because I don't know. I'm also a member of the iTech board. Yay. The last-minute fill-in people. And I also run the Wi-Fi here. It's been pretty good, right, this year? Yeah, best year yet. All right, so Google Forms are an awesome tool. You can do more with Google Forms than I hope any of you know that are in here, because you shouldn't be here if you know what you can do, everything with Google Forms. There are some classroom uses. I'm no longer in the classroom. I was at one point, but I'm no longer. But here are some resources for you to get how you use forms. And I hate just going out and reading crap. I want to live question how people use forms in their classroom right now. Do I have any volunteers? Please? Please? Come on, feel sorry. Oh, we have one up here. Lady in red.
I've used it for quizzes.
Right?
To gather information like for speech contests, like their, name, address, phone number, and things like that.
Yep, fill the contact list for sure. Can I go back to your quiz thing? Did you use it when you had to use the add-on called Flubaroo, or are you using it with the new quizzy things?
Well, I was out of the classroom last year, and now I'm back in. I haven't used it with the new thing, but I used it with the...
See, now you're using my terminology, the quizzy thing. Yeah, see what happens?
I did use it with Flubaroo.
I get in your head. Cool. Flubaroo, how many of you have used Flubaroo previously? Okay, how many of those hands that were up have used the new quiz stuff? Or things, as I like to call them. Yeah, okay. Next volunteer.
I use it for exit slips, so I have a form on it. I send it down for exit slips and different exit drop-down boxes and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, great use of Google Forms in the classroom. Anything else before we get started? Yeah, in the back.
I use it for teacher input on IEPs.
Yes. IEP stuff all over the place. Anybody else? Classroom uses, yes.
We usually make a playlist for music.
Ooh, can you go into that a little bit? I haven't heard this one.
So like each student had 3 questions, like an artist and then a song, and then that way we create a sheet of all the songs that they would like to hear in the classroom.
Oh. So you play music in the classroom, like when they're working,
So
such?
that way, they always complain about the music sucks or.
Yeah. Right.
So then everybody picks out 4 songs, and then everybody has the same percentage chance of their song coming out.
That's great. Thank you. That's a good one. Yeah, one I haven't heard. Yeah.
Homecoming, king and queen
Yeah.
voting.
Yeah. Yay. No more, what's that? Yeah, paper ballots or the old survey monkey was a little cumbersome. Anything else people want to share? Yeah, back there.
Yeah, we use it for check-ins for the Chromebooks and laptops at the end of the year.
Yeah. And you can get super nerdy. So what we're going to do, how this is going to roll, is we're going to start from the beginner level, and we will hopefully, as long as I don't chat too long, get to some more advanced stuff at the end, like regular expressions and prefilled forms and things like that. How many of you have heard either of those 2 terms? A couple, good. So you will be the ones that are left at the end. Everyone else will sneak out probably when we get to that part, but that's fine too. Vote with your feet. If you get bored with me, I'll be sad, but go ahead and leave. This is my 3rd monster of the day, so it's good. I live on Monster. It's okay. All right, so something new in Forms was Google Form templates. If I go to templates, it used to show, if I go to templates in this account, it has some extra ones because it's a business domain. But your educational domain should have these. The education one has some very simple form templates. If you're in a hurry, those are great places to start. How many of you have used the form templates, the new ones that are there? A couple? Okay, so they have some very basic ones. Your exit ticket is now a template because that was a common use. A basic assessment, or I don't know. I try to convince people not to use that 3rd word up there. I despise that 3rd word, but that's just me. Digital or otherwise, it's still a friggin' worksheet. And then a course evaluation for maybe the more higher ed. How many of your districts sort of publish your own templates for anything? Yeah, back here? What do you do? Yeah, what do you publish out?
The one that I've published is, like, we have a P-card form that every month I have to turn in to, reconcile what they bought and what was returned to and all that stuff. And I made it digital so they didn't have to fill out the paperwork.
Yes. Okay. So some of you have gone to some of my nerdier sessions. We have, I like to say, Googleized any sort of what was previously a 3-copy form. Leave requests, transportation requests, facility use requests, all those things that used to be carbon copied have been Googleized using Google Forms. We do everything digitally. Well, not everything. I'm still pushing for certain pieces of things that they seem to think needs to remain on paper. I'm also anti-paper. If you didn't know that about me, save the trees. Everyone in our district, we're fortunate enough to be a 1-to-1 district. Everyone has a device. So why are we still printing things onto paper? I don't know. So templates, good to use. If you have something that you want, a specific way you want teachers to use something, you can produce a template and publish it, and then they can use that over and over and over again. They don't have to start from scratch every time. So a great tool inside of Google Forms. I don't have any questions yet. This is slide like 2. Does anyone have any live questions? Remember, you can ask them through that link as well. Any live questions so far? Oh, just got one. What is an exit ticket? The question was, what is an exit ticket? So, an exit ticket is to check for learning at the end of a lesson. So you've taught this awesome lesson with all these awesome resources, and you hope the students learn something, but you're going to check for understanding before they can leave the classroom. So you put together a quick form, post a link on the board, or send it through Classroom, or however you want them to get to it quickly, and they answer a couple easy questions, and then that can be that can form the next day's lesson based on the answers you get from today's lesson, right? Hopefully, you use some formative assessment, that's called, right? So an exit ticket is a form of formative assessment, and it can be really quick. If you're a one-to-one district, it's super simple to do that at the end of your lesson quick. There's another question that I don't know the answer to, so I'm not going to repeat it. No, I'm kidding. I really don't know the answer, so if someone finds the answer while you're not listening to me, that's fine. Can the template be deployed via the G Suite admin console? Jeremy. Ask me questions I don't know. I really don't know the answer. Is that true, right?
No.
No, you have to do it through.
No, for forms like this template, the upload template is still new, so it goes and it will be approved by the G Suite admin, but I'm not sure, I don't actually think you can do it.
Not yet. The other things you can. And any template has to be approved by the admin, okay? But, yeah, so that's one of the options, buried deep. Yeah. I think I have a vast array of audience members here. Mason. Oh, more questions. Okay. When using Google Forms for an assessment, how do you make sure the students are not switching screens to look up the answers on the internet? And my canned response to that is if they can look it up on the internet, it's a bad question. I'm sorry if I hurt someone's feelings, but that's my canned response for that. There is no way to lock it down so that they're stuck on the screen, unless you were to do kiosk mode or something with your device, which is possible. A little bit of a headache for someone that knows how to put it into kiosk mode, but it is possible. You can have testing kiosks where they can only go to a specified set of websites. There are special browsers for like digital testing, bigger ones that lock them in. But for Google Forms, you cannot lock them there unless you do a kiosk and lock it to that URL. Good question, but I like my first answer best.
If you have asked for a file,
You're right. There are ways to lock them down, but not from Forms itself. So can pictures be entered as a response to a form? So with the new forms, there's we'll get to that in a minute. So there's two ways I can respond to that question. I'm going to skip that one for now. We'll get to that in a little bit. Okay, so remember I said we're going to start at the beginning and we're going to work our way really quickly through? Maybe until 10? To 10? Oh boy. So the settings, there's some interesting things in the settings. This one, limit one response. If you're doing a homecoming ballot, you probably want to limit them to one response, which then automatically, in the blinding light of the projector, does the collect their email addresses. So that's how it limits them to one response. Okay? So if you were going to do a homecoming ballot, you should probably lock it to your domain. Otherwise, they'll be voting with their outside accounts. Even though you lock it to one response, they can use, and Gmail accounts are free, right? I can see some voter fraud there. Edit after submit is an interesting little box because it does a couple things. It allows them to edit their response on the backside. So for the nerdier people in the room, I'm going to go off track for just a second because programmatically on the spreadsheet side, you can also retrieve that edit after form response link with a little bit of code, about 12 lines, I think, if I remember properly. Not even probably 12. 8 lines of code. You can retrieve that URL and then use that in some very fancy ways that we'll get to in the nerdy section towards the end. The presentation, I'm going to pop back so I can this is my very fancy new form. Come on. Ooh. This was not in my screenshot, and neither was this, because it was taken from a public account. But you can restrict to your domain. So when I was talking about the homecoming ballot, that's what you would want to do, and then do this as well. Probably not do this for that. And then you can have the respondents can see a summary of the results live. So it might be interesting in that homecoming ballot for them to check this box so they can see how their vote was affected and see how the rankings are going or not. Show progress. So in the presentation means how the form is presented to your users. So if you have an extremely long form, your users might get bored halfway through. So you might want to show them how far they have to go. If it's a one-page form, that tick box doesn't make much sense. You can shuffle the question order, which can be helpful in certain circumstances, given quiz, maybe, so they can't look and cheat. They might be able to Google the answer, but they wouldn't be able to look at their neighbor at least. And then show the link to submit another response. If you want them to submit responses over and over, or if you have a sort of a laptop sitting there, like we have one set up on each of the office desks for check-ins and check-outs. So they can just click submit another response and then put their stuff in and check in or check out. You'd be amazed at how many children don't know what in and out is and choose the wrong response. Am I leaving or am I coming back? I don't know what in and out means. I'm going into the outside or out from the inside. I don't know. It's confusing to them. So there is another thing that I use in conjunction with Google Forms that used to be free and is no longer free, and it's called Awesome Tables. How many of you use Awesome Tables currently? How many of you have no idea what I'm talking about? Oh, sad face. Sad face. So, Awesome Tables is an awesome tool. That's why it's called awesome. I do entire workshops on building workflows with Awesome Tables and Google Forms. So, Awesome Tables is a great way to visually depict spreadsheet data. And obviously, with a Google form, you can dump it into a spreadsheet. You no longer have to. You used to have to. You no longer have to. You can just look at the results inside of the form itself. You used to have to dump it to a spreadsheet. Now it doesn't create the spreadsheet until you actually click the button that makes it create the spreadsheet. That was a big day. You didn't have to have two things automatically. That was a big day for nerds like me. Okay. And the last thing here, you can change the confirmation message. So when they submit the form, you can maybe put some important information in there. Like a reminder, or, yeah, we got your stuff, something like that. Right. Anyone have a useful, edited form submission response? Yeah, Shannon, what she just said, what Joy just said there. Yeah. Anyone else? That can be useful if used in the right way. Okay.
Do that in the breakout session for like another clue.
Oh!
To different Google forms. Do that.
Because people ignore that. They do. They ignore that little thing. And so you have to be clever. If you want them to read it, you have to make it longer so that they realize that it's not the standard form response thing. And then they'll read it, but then you have to be a little clever or they'll stop reading. If it's just like your email blurb at the bottom that people stamp down there, they're not going to read it. So be clever. And then the very useful make a quiz option. All right. I can't remember my slides because I just made them. So I'm going to go back. I think I covered this all later. No. What?
You have a quiz slide later.
Yeah, okay. I thought I did. I'm going to check my questions again. Okay, we're still good. And I went forward, so give me a second. All right, questions about the settings piece so far? Crickets. Okay. I'm doing a good job, that means, right? Okay, all right, sure I am. All right, so the next thing is to send this form out. You have this beautiful form. It's like 18 branches off of 6 different pages. The form is going to obtain some very important information, but you need to send it out somehow. So there's a couple different ways to do that. You can send it out by email, using group emails, I hope, not individuals. That would take forever. Unless you have it in a spreadsheet, then you can copy and paste into here. That works. Okay. You can send out the form link. So if you send out the form link, it takes them to the view form so they can send out, so you can do that multiple different ways. You can embed the HTML, so it gives you an embed code. If you have a fancy website and are the website master, you can put that embed code somewhere, or if you have a Google site, you can embed that. Or you can send out social media with those 3 buttons in the upper right of that section. So Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. They make you use one of those 3. There is other social media, but one of those 3 is your choice. So once that goes out, people will start sending you some data, right? Okay. So cooler stuff. Okay. 3 dots menu. Hot dog menu? 3 dots menu. I call it 3 dots and 9 squares. 3 dots and 9 squares. There's no food involved in menus. Sorry. Undo. You can undo what you just did. That's a pretty common thing, right? Make a copy. This is an important button for the nerdier ones in here. If you're making a workflow for those 3 copy forms, a lot of times you have an original form that has the end user type questions, and then you want to use that make a copy button to make a copy of that form, and then add some more questions for the next person up the line, and then make another copy of the form for the next person up the line, however many steps through the process there is. You would want to make a copy of the previous form and add questions to it. It makes building the workflow much easier. So that make a copy button is a good thing for that. Make a copy, if you're doing an exit quiz, why make a whole new form? You can just go to the one you used yesterday, make a copy and edit what was there quick. Okay? A little faster than building a whole new form, especially if you use some sort of fancy graphics at the top, make it all pretty. You don't want to be redoing all that work all the time. So the make a copy button is there, and it's useful. Okay, I'm getting to my favorite button ever, but there's one boring one in the middle. Move to trash, so you're going to move it to the trash. But remember, it's not gone. There are people out there that save things in the trash can. It's not a joke. Good admins go to format a thing. Well, did you save my trash? No, didn't save your trash. Sorry, your stuff is all gone. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I had one user that was like their documents folder. All of their stuff was in the trash. And why do you do that? I don't know. Okay, let's not do that anymore. We're going to use this folder. I deleted it all. It was gone. Poof. Now the next button. Oh my God, see how excited I get. This button is super powerful. Get pre-filled URL. How many people have used this? Oh, another sad face. I saw like 4 hands. Okay. All right. So a lot of you in here are like, why is he talking? So get pre-filled link. So I'll give you a nerdy example first, and then maybe your teacher minds can morph this into a classroom example. So we use it for our Google check-in process. So we have all the students' names and serial number and birthday and social security and blood type and retina scan picture and, no, not all that stuff. We have a lot of relevant information in a spreadsheet, right? And using the pre-filled form and a simple spreadsheet formula to fill in the spreadsheet data into the pre-filled URL going to the form, you can pre-fill the form with data from a spreadsheet. So then you can have a unique link for every kid to a form with their stuff in it. So when you're checking in Chromebooks, we can check in a Chromebook in under a minute. They hand us the Chromebook, we find their name, we click the link, the form is there. It asks us questions about particular types of damage. We click yes or no, if they're all defaulted to no. So if there is something, we click yes quick and we click submit, and that Chromebook is then checked in. So we can check a Chromebook in under a minute and have all the information I need to order parts, know who needs to pay me some money. All of this stuff is then in a new spreadsheet very, very quickly. It really is. It's about 45 seconds. We get the Chromebook, click the link, and go do our check and throw it in the stat. Well, place it carefully in a stack behind us. And then we have runners that take it away to the appropriate height. All right, I'm going to give you like 30 seconds for your teacher breaks, the teachers in the room, to try to think of a use for the pre-filled link. I'm singing the alphabet 3 times in my head.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, absolutely.
With that form you just described, if I collected the student's email address, can you run a script or something to automate and send them a receipt by email?
Yeah, oh, yeah. You use the tool. Yeah, so I use FormView on the back end of that.
Okay.
So on form submission, I can email them a receipt. It also can email their parents a receipt, because one of the columns in the information spreadsheet that populated the pre-filled form based on the spreadsheet data was parent information. It only does that if they owe me money. We don't. The parent doesn't want to know that the Chromebook was okay, only if they owe me money. Right.
Well, actually ours do. They
Okay.
want to know either way.
Yeah, okay.
If it's,
Yes, so that would be a script on the backside, firing off from the spreadsheet.
Before and after. So questions that have before the lesson, hopefully you answer the questions.
Yeah, so for those that couldn't hear, before and after. So like a KWL in Google Form. KWL, is it still called that? It's been a while since I used one of those. Sorry. KWL, so what they know now, what they want to learn, and then way in the end, what they did learn, can all be done with a Google Form. And that pre-filled link, and a little bit of magic in a spreadsheet. It's not much magic, it's a simple substitute formula. Not simple, it depends on how long the thing is, but absolutely doable. But if you have static information, if you want all the answers, for whatever reason, to be the same thing for the first 3 questions, you can use that. So I'm going to show you the way that works. Real quick. I am not nearing my experience, so it's a little hard to drive. So I'm going to add a question. While I add this question, I'm going to do something on purpose. Do you see what happened? It got smart. Forms got smart. Finally started getting smart. They used some of that enormous machine learning stuff that Google has learned and started figuring out, when I type email address, maybe I want to collect the email address of everyone. It's adaptive. I don't really want their email address. Why would I do that? I don't know. It has no suggestions for me. But what it did, it also thinks that maybe that is a short answer type of question. So we'll try to predict what question type as well, based on what you put in there. So, are you good with it? What it does. Oh. See how it changed to multiple choice? Okay? All right. So, my thing is off. So to get the pre-filled link, it's quite simple. You click the pre-filled link button, and then it comes up with a form, and these are stupid questions because they're not going to be very, and you submit that. But what that does is it produces magic. I'm not even kidding. This is a magical URL right here. This magical URL has your answers in it. I need to get back where I can paste that somewhere. Okay. Oh, it's very long, right? But, and I'm going to warn you. I'm going to warn you. Question type choice is important when you're going to utilize this. It's easier to manipulate the URL with certain types of questions, like short answer and all that. But you can see where I put my arrow. Every entry in your form has an entry with an ID and then equal to, I happen to choose option 1 for that question, right? So you can chop out that option 1 and fill it with option whatever inside of the spreadsheet with a substitute formula, with a concatenation. So you chop that out, you put and whatever you want it to be, and it now is replaced with the spreadsheet data. And I'll show you an example of that in the nerdy section that I may never get to because I talk too much. Questions about this? It can be extremely useful. Prefilled form URL. Okay. Okay, so advanced options wise, let's see. Okay, so add-ons. There's some pretty good add-ons. Form Eliminator. Choice Eliminator. How many of you used add-ons with forms before? Okay, a few of you. Any favorite ones you have used? Any favorites? No favorites? Okay, I'm just going to, oops, wrong one. Sorry. Where's mine? Did I not? Huh. Okay. So, Choice Eliminator. I'm going to caution against that one. It works sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't work. I don't trust that. I write my own code. But if you don't have the ability to do that, this is an option. Just I caution in its use because it doesn't always work. What it does is you set it so once there are so many of this answer submitted, I'm going to remove that choice from the form. Okay? And if you're really nerdy, you can just custom code that in the script editor. I might show you where that is in the advanced summary response. So some of these, look, this one here is made by Awesome Tables. Awesome Tables are awesome, but they charge money now. Okay? So be careful. Form Ranger is another good one. Sort of. So this is what I'll tell you about some of these. If you see one from New Vision's public school, Andrew Stillman left and went to the private sector with Amplified IT and no longer maintains these. They have someone new that maintains them, but not as well as Andrew did. Okay? So anything with New Visions, you sort of have to play with to make sure it's going to do what you want it to do. Okay? So definitely not as many add-ons in forms as there is in some others, but there are some good stuff. So before you go reinventing the wheel, check here first. Yes?
Can you talk about that email notification add-on real quick? What that does?
This one?
Yep.
Okay. So it does what it says. You'll get an email notification when a form is submitted. It can send you an email with what they chose in the form response. Does that make sense?
Is that different than what's embedded in the form already? Or that's just where you go to notifications and turn it on?
So notifications, it's a little bit fancier. I'll say that, okay? I prefer to use something like, I almost always, even though they don't make me anymore, I almost always turn on the spreadsheet and then use the add-ons from there. Because they're more, and they can do more, and they're a little more stable, in my humble opinion, IMHO, okay? So I usually use like a formula or an autocrat on the spreadsheet side on form submit, a trigger on form submit, and those seem to work better. And you can manipulate the response you get to your criteria specifically if you do it through there, okay? So that's add-ons. There are some useful ones. Don't reinvent the wheel or get scared. I can see some freaked out faces in here. You don't have to go full bore. I mean, just use the pieces you need to use, or ask someone that might know how to use some of the more advanced stuff. Where was I? Okay. Decorations, you can make them pretty now. Helpful to engage your form fillers, right? To make it a little more pretty to look at than what I use with the purple top. I just default. I don't care about pretty usually. Someone else can dress it up if they want. Preview live form, that's just going to show you what it looks like. If you're making it pretty, you might want to see what it looks like to your user before you just spit it out. Also, if you have lengthy questions you might want to see what it looks like to the user before you send it out and expect people to fill it out accurately. Okay? And then the form settings that we already went into. How am I in? Okay. All right. So we're going to start getting a little bit more advanced. Before I do that, I forgot to check the question. Are there any live questions? Okay. So I had a question. How can you limit the number of people that you can choose a certain option for a specific question? For instance, I have 8 people choice to have. That's where the form, the choice eliminator comes into play, an add-on or custom scripting that yourself to eliminate options. We do J-term at Spirit Lake. Between semesters, we do a problem-based learning, 3 weeks of stuff. So the high school kids have to all sign up for courses that have seat limits. So I custom scripted, when it hits the seat limit, it just goes in and takes that choice out of the form. So the next person that goes in doesn't have that choice. The key part to that is the next person that comes in doesn't have that choice. If they happen to have 2 people go into the form and both choose the same thing, it can push over the seat limit because it only happens on form load. You can't take a choice out of a form if it's already loaded in their browser. You can't go like suck it back out of the internet. It doesn't work that way. So there is the potential to still go over the seat count. Even with Choice Eliminator, there's just no way to update that live on everyone's screen. So if they both open the form and both choose when it's at the seat limit, they can go over. Just a caution with anything eliminating choices that can happen. So prepare for that. But that's how you do it. You have to use Choice Eliminator or some other add-on that does that same thing, or custom script it. Someone anonymous posted this, so if you're still here, can you change the responses so they are seen in different types of graphs? I don't quite understand that question.
I think once the information is collected, when you go to see the results, there's a graph, is what the question is.
Oh, right.
Can you change the graph?
Yeah, so, no. So advanced summary responses via awesome tables gives you more granularity and control over what type of graphs you see, or dump it into a spreadsheet and build your own graph. Graph? No, graph. I need a little more of this. So that's what I would recommend there. The default one is unchangeable unless someone can enlighten me to how to do that. Awesome tables, advanced summary of responses is awesome. If you really want to dig into the data submitted through a Google form, that is what you want to use, but it does cost money eventually. Yeah, so that wavers. I still do not have a static answer from the people at Awesome Tables who are French. Nothing against the French people, but there's a language barrier when you try to talk to them. I'm not kidding. There's a language barrier when you try to talk. And they're still manipulating their pricing structure is basically the answer they give you. They're trying to find the sweet spot where people don't stop using their tool because it costs too much, but they're still making enough to make the tool. So that's fluid, and I'm not kidding. 2 people can call them on the same day and get 2 different answers. Show us how to choose the best answer. Mandy, I don't understand your question either.
So if you use a multiple choice or drop down, there's a
Oh yeah, branching. That was coming up, I think. Remember, I built this in the keynote, so I will. Okay. All right. So the first advance, any live questions? I think I scrolled to the bottom of what I had. If I missed you, ask it live, please. No? No live questions either? Okay, before I go to advanced, I want to go back to the question I skipped about pictures. So there are a couple ways to do that. How do I want to do this? You can add an image as a choice for the question. Is that what you meant? I don't know who asked that question. You can add an image now to a choice. You can also add an image as the question. So you can add an image to both. You know the old things where you had to, like, label things like in a cell or something, you know, label a picture. You can do that pictorially now in Google Forms. It's pretty nice, right? So you can add a picture as the question itself, or you can add images as the answers, or super cool awesomeness happened, what, less than a year ago. This button happened. How many other nerds got super excited about this? This is an awesome, awesome button, and it should excite teachers too, because now students can submit evidence of learning through a Google form in any file format. It can be a picture, it can be a PDF, it can be whatever file they have digitally on their computer. They can now upload to you via a Google form, and if you have it in like quizzy mode and say not grade instantly but grade after a review, you can look at that, grade it, and then send them the results all through a Google form. Pretty cool stuff. Yes?
Okay, so for the file upload, if you need to, I don't know, you can choose how many files the person needs to upload. So like I had it where they can upload up to 5 documents, either from their computer or from Drive. But when it comes into the spreadsheet, they're not hyperlinked. And so that like the copying and pasting doesn't always work, and then it says that they're not found in
Drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
then I've done just 5 file upload questions.
yes.
But then it doesn't.
That part. Right. So it comma separates them theoretically. Yeah. So that's another caution. When you're designing a Google form, you need to pay attention to the question types that you choose to use. Different question types produce different input into the spreadsheet. If you're using checkboxes, it produces a comma-separated values list in that column. So every tick box they tick is in that cell, separated by a comma. So if you're going to try to manipulate that data later, you need to pay attention to the question types you choose, because they produce different types of responses in the spreadsheet. Be careful of the question types you choose, because they produce different types of responses. When you go to manipulate the data, you need to pay attention to that. If you don't care, pick away. Whatever looks pretty. But for guys like me that have to manipulate the data later? Data later? We care. So if you are designing a form and someone else is going to have to manipulate the data later, you might want to converse with that person prior to sending said form out. Okay? Just a word of caution. So that's what happens with this, because it's a single question and you're submitting multiple things to it. It puts it in a comma-separated values list, and it breaks the hyperlink. So what you can do, Mandy, is use a simple formula on the spreadsheet side called split, and split on comma space, and in the subsequent columns, it produces the hyperlinks you desire.
Correct, but then like if I use auto to fill in what I needed to, it will hyperlink the first link, but not the.
So there's a couple workarounds for that that I'm not probably going to go into now. Yeah. Great. So this question type opens up forms to a whole new realm of possibilities to gather evidence of learning. It can be a picture. It can be, I don't even know. It can be whatever it can be a Word doc. Forget I said that. Let's not do that. No, it can be though. It can be a PDF. It can be whatever. Any file type can be uploaded. It could be a DWG image. It could be an STL file that you can then print out on your 3D printer. Huh? How cool would that be? They could make a 3D model. They could submit it to you, and you could print out their thing, whatever it might be, a balloon dog. You could print that out, not in balloon form, but in plastic sort of thing. So the possibilities of what a form can be used to open up. Used for. I'm messing up my, what is that called? Okay. Any questions about the file upload? Because that was an exciting day. That was awesome right there. Okay. So, any other questions? Last chance, because then I'm going to get nerdy. Okay? How many of you have used data validation inside of a form before? Simple data validation or fancy data validation? So there's choices. So I'm going to pop back to my form and show you some of those pre-built choices, and then show you, geez, I keep forgetting I'm not here. I apologize. Do I have to? Oh, I know why. I need to change it to a stop. What? Uh-oh. Where am I missing my button? Oh my gosh. I put my mouse on it and didn't read what it said. All right. So here's the built-in stuff. It can be a number. So like 2 plus 6 would be a good example. It has to be a number. But then in the numbers you can do all of these things. Like it has to be a whole number. They can't put a decimal. Like if you're saying how many pieces of pizza are you going to eat, you're not going to let someone say 12.5. That's a lot of pizza. But it's a half a piece, and you don't want to have to cut a half a piece. So whatever, right? So you can do that. And then you can specify a number, and you can even provide custom error text. Like, that is a math question, and you didn't submit a number. Or that is division, not multiplication. So if it was a common error for that question type, especially imagine using this with an exit slip, or an exit form, I guess, digital exit slip. You could tell them, great job, you were listening, or you could do some additional instruction using that box based on them answering the question wrong. If it was multiple choice, if you designed it properly, you could use this, and do you understand? Or, oh, that's a great idea. A link to a YouTube video is what he just said. Like they got the question wrong. Here's a YouTube video that might help you understand this better. Oh, that's sweet. I'm going to steal that. Right? Google Forms are awesome. All right. So, and then there's some more choices. So text. Contains means that text appears somewhere in their answer. Doesn't contain it, it's not there. That it's an email address. That requires a real email address. So it's going to look for an at, and then some text, and then a dot, and then some more text. Or with something before the at. So it looks for a valid email address. Or a valid URL. It doesn't check that the URL is valid. It checks that it's in URL format. Okay? Length. If you want them to only submit this many characters. If you're doing some sort of fancy formulas on the backside that only expect this many characters, that can be useful. And then there's a minimum character, okay? And then you get super nerdy. So in the slide deck, there's a link that Carl graciously provided me that takes you to some more description of what an irregular expression is. That is pretty nerdy stuff. How many of you have used regular expressions before? Carl. Yeah, a couple of you? Regular expressions are extremely powerful and can limit what the person can put into the form for an answer very specifically. Like, I need an answer that has an A, or I could do that differently. But I need an answer that has an A, 3 letters, then a B, 4 letters, and then a C. Like if you're expecting an ID in a certain format, I need 3 digits, a hyphen, and then 4 digits. If they type it wrong, it will say, that is not in the proper format, based on a regular expression. So you can do way fancier stuff. And those were pretty simple examples. With regular expressions, you can very much specify exactly the format they need to enter something in. So if you need a specific format, I urge you to do this. There are a plethora of websites out there that can help you build regular expressions. Yes?
So that'd be like such as like a phone number, and then if
Yes.
there's any data,
Yes.
sheet, you click on it and you know, maybe you can call.
Yes. Hold on. I'm going to see something. Oh, didn't. I would assume that eventually that will be a smart. Oh my gosh! Right. I can't think of the word right now. But it'll figure out that we want a phone number there. But there are regular expressions pre-built for input out there, and you can go Google it, copy and paste it into that, and then help. Don't try to write the regular expression by yourself because that's hard. just Google it. It's probably already out there, unless you have a weird, whatever kind of input. Okay? I'm running out of time. And I knew I would. I told you I would. I warned you. All right.